Today we ask the age-old question, walnut, will it bend? So maybe the more accurate question is, can Shaun Boyd make it bend? This piece is actually one of the first larger bent lamination pieces I've actually done. So it was a bit of a roller coaster, plenty of ups and downs and bends along the way. But it was really an exercise in experimentation, and that's really what all of this is about. And now that I've had this X-Carve machine for a couple weeks, I've become much more comfortable with it. Check out the links in the description if you want to learn more about the X-Carve or easel. But I've also run out of things to carve my logo into. So I've been wanting to make an actual piece of furniture with the machine. But I didn't want to use it to just cut out parts that I would usually make by hand. I wanted to kind of mix the capabilities of the CNC with some other woodworking techniques. So I initially came up with this. I just can't quite keep myself from starting with paper and pencil, but I knew I could utilize the CNC for a couple things in this project. First, to create a clamping jig for the bent lamination, and second was to cut the pocket for the curve to actually sit in. So I took the plunge and downloaded Fusion 360. So I opened Fusion 360 for the first time, then I promptly closed it for the first time. And once I got over learning such a daunting program like Fusion, I went to YouTube to get some knowledge. And it was here that I came across Lars Christensen. He doesn't know it, but he's now my 3D modeling sensei.
I say you do, no question.
I'll put a link to his YouTube channel in the description. Once I had binge watched a lot of his tutorial videos, I took a shot at modeling my side table, and I was happy to find that I was pretty successful. I then also learned about CAM and tool paths and adaptive clearing and post-processing and G-code. I felt like a real computer whiz.
It's a Unix system. I know this.
And the great part is you can do all of the hard work in Fusion. Export your G-code, which then you can import straight into easel, and you are ready to go. So the first thing I did was cut out the clamping jig for the curve, and I needed to cut a few of them to get the width that I wanted. So once I had the jig ready to go, it was just a matter of cutting a bunch of thin walnut strips, then sending them through the drum sander to get them nice and smooth and thin enough to bend. I think I ended up with 8 pieces. Each one was about 4 inches wide and 3/32 thick. And this is where I ran into my first small problem. The bend was a bit too much for the thickness of the layers that I had cut, and I didn't want to lose any more thickness on my final curve. So what I did was I soaked all of the boards with water. Then once they were wet, I was able to get them around that curve. So I'm gonna leave them clamped up for a while. Hopefully they'll hold their shape a little easier for when I actually glue them up. So once everything was dry, I mixed up some epoxy. And in this case, I'm using Total Boat epoxy with their medium hardener. I decided to use epoxy because I wanted it to dry as rigid as possible, and having the longer open time really made the glue up pretty stress-free. So while the curve was curing, I decided to make the base and top, and I made those out of 3/4 inch MDF, and I doubled them up to get an 1.5 inch thickness. I then got them set up on the CNC to cut the pockets for the curve. And this worked pretty much perfectly until I went to test fit it, and I realized that the pocket was based off the curve of the jig and didn't take into account the thickness of the curve. So I went back, made some adjustments, and did it again, except now my base has the mistake on the bottom, but don't tell anyone. I attached everything together with some epoxy and a couple of screws. The base was attached from below so that no hardware was showing, and the top is also attached from below, which could be seen, but only if you're really looking for it. Alright, so first large bent lamination furniture piece in the books. Thumbs up for that. I'm really happy with the result, though there's probably a couple things I would do differently. It's a little bouncy. so maybe thicken up the curve or take some weight off the top. I'm also a little on the fence about the paint, just my own personal taste. But this was a great learning experience. It was also a lot of fun to dive deeper into the capabilities of the X-Carve, which didn't disappoint at all. So thank you to Inventables. Again, if you want to learn more about the X-Carve or easel, check out the links in the description. And of course, thank you for watching. It means a lot to me that people enjoy what I'm doing here, so I appreciate it. And until next time, always be learning and always stay curvy. That doesn't rhyme.